Okay, so today I'm going to show you how I installed my drip irrigation system, mainly with dripper flags going in 5/8 poly line and soaker hoses, 1/4 inch soaker hoses going down the rows. And I put those in specifically for places where I'm going to have a lot of plants, or I don't know where each individual plant's going to be. So we're going to look at how I did that in my garden right now. Okay, so here we are at the garden, and this is what I'm talking about. This would be an example right here of your 1/4 inch soaker line. Got this going on some cauliflower right here, and over there on the parsnip. And I'll show you the flag system in just a second. Okay, so here's a pretty good example of the dripper flags. I've got one in for each one of these zucchini plants. See, we're getting some baby zucchinis there. Yeah, anyway, so this is the 5/8 poly line right here, and then that would be an example of the dripper flag right there. And then there's a third thing I'll show you, I will talk about a little bit. I don't have one to show you, but there's also what they call, it's the brown 1/2 inch poly line that they call, it's the Pro drip system, and that is for a slightly higher capacity of a soaker hose, and it is like I said, like a brown poly line. Okay, back with more. Okay, here's just one more example of how nicely this works with the soaker lines on the basil here. I've got some Sweet Annie in the middle just mixed in there for no reason, randomly. And then I've got this nice basil that's doing really well on this dripper line. I mean this soaker, this 1/4 inch soaker line. Okay, everything in this video is going to revolve around using a hose outlet here, like a regular hose spigot, and the letters designator for those, if you need to buy one, is a MHT or FHT. M stands for male, F stands for female thread here, and that'd be this part here. So it's your hose, and then it's hose thread. So this could be a way to tap into an existing automatic system like I have with these standpipes here, that I spliced in these 3/4 inch tees. You could use 1/2 inch tees if you have a 1/2 inch standpipe on your drip system. And then I ran that to a 1/2 inch threaded female FPT, female pipe thread. So that's female pipe thread to male pipe thread on this side. And the reason I'm being careful to give you those designators is you can get couplers for PVC that have other threaded designations. And this is a pressure regulator on this side coming out of the hose, and you can get pressure regulators that are meant to come out of other threads. But everything I'm going to be showing you today is all based around a hose thread. And the reason I did it that way, it's all based around trying to get everything out to a hose thread and run everything off of the hose thread. The reason I'm doing that today, is because I wanted everything to be compatible, whether it's the side of the house that's not the run off the timer system and the automatic system, or whether it is on one of these standpipes off the automatic system. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is all the items you'll need to do that. So if you need to couple into a standpipe, you can get this slip fitting. You'll cut your standpipe here, and then you'll use cement, pipe cement, to slip that on there, and then you'll add your hose valve and thread that in. Use a little bit of Teflon tape. Okay, so, and make sure that when you buy this at the hardware store, that this is a FPT, then this is going to be an MPT on your metal side, your garden hose side valve. Okay, now the next thing that comes out after that is going to be this pressure regulator. So I wanted to give you a good shot of the pressure regulator. And the way that works, this is threaded into, so you want to make sure, and this is what I'm telling you, you can get a hose thread here on this side and a hose thread on this side, or you can get some other weird funky thread like a pipe thread or something on this side or on this side, or both. So you want to make sure you get the same thread on every side. FHT, and if it doesn't say it clearly, one way to tell is that the hose thread is much coarser. It's a much coarser thread there than the pipe thread. The pipe thread, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a really fine thread compared to the hose thread. And then, so the next thing is, so you screw your regulator on, then onto your regulator you screw this coupler, and this is a press-on fitting for your poly line. This 5/8 poly line, I think it's a 1/2 inch inside, maybe 5/8 on the outside, and it'll say specifically that it is a FHT, so that's a female hose thread. That's what you want there. Whoops, see if I can get it in focus. Yeah, FHT, and that it's a fitting for 0.71 inch poly pipe. So that's what you want there, because there is a 0.6 inch poly pipe. That's the brown stuff that is actually like a heavy duty soaker line that you can run. You don't want that for your main line though. You want this black 5/8 poly. Okay, the next things we're going to use is, here's a nice cutter. This is an inexpensive PVC cutter, but it works really good for cutting that poly pipe evenly. You could use a knife too. So that's that. It's a hole punch. It's a cheap one from Lowe's. See if I can get you the model number off it. Okay, there's a hole punch model number. So what that does is it punches the 1/4 inch holes into your main line when you want to tap off a 1/4 inch line. Now here you've got a 1/4 inch barbs. So really what that is a coupler. You can go from the edge of your poly line. Oops, let's see if I can, here you can punch a hole in the edge of your poly line, and you can stick one of those couplers in, barbed connectors as they call them, and then on the other end you can stick you can plug your 1/4 inch in, and then you can run your line from there. Now if you don't want to use the whole plug, you can also go with these clamp pieces. Then what they do is they clamp onto your 1/2 inch or 5/8 poly line. It's the same thing. Sometimes they call it 1/2 inch, sometimes it's 5/8, but your black poly line, you can press this down in there, and that eliminates the need for these and these. But I like to use these because if I use all of this, and if I don't use all of this and I cut it somewhere and then I have another longer run, I can use these couplers to splice two pieces together and keep going. And so this is what it looks like when it comes out. These are some lines I pulled out because I'm not using them right now. And lastly, the last parts you might want to have is, if you don't have a timing system, you can put in your own timing system off of your hose on the side of your house or in your garden that isn't on a timer. With one of these, this is like a manual timer, so you just walk out and you turn it, and then the water pressure makes it tick back toward off. Or actually, maybe it's just, I think it's just spring loaded. Maybe that's not a water pressure one. Or if you really want to get fancy, you can get one of these. These are about $40, and you get a AA battery, a couple of AA batteries, and you can set one of these up and use that as a timer. And the way I would do is I would come straight off of your hose valve with that, with one of these. Of course, I don't need it because I'm running them on my timer system, but you could come straight out of your hose valve with this first, and then everything else is after. Your pressure regulator, all that other stuff. So your timer would be right here first, and then your regulator and your T or your coupler or whatever you're running after that. Okay, so those are all the parts and all the options. You can rewind here if you need to go buy parts and you want to make a list. Okay, so now you can see that from this poly line I've run it perpendicular to my rows. My rows are back here, and the poly line is right there running across the back side of the rows. The reason I did that was because then I could pop a little hole in the poly line so it's perpendicular here, and then I could pop a little hole and run that 1/4 inch line down there. Let me show you how to do that. So if I wanted to put a drip line right here, I would look at my hole plug, my hole punch, and okay, that's the side that you want to put it on the right side of the poly pipe. Okay, so the side that the punch comes out on, and then you stick this onto your poly pipe and I'm not going to do it because I don't need it, but then you squeeze here, you'll feel the thing go through, and then you put your coupler here. Let me see if I can find this one that's already on the line. You put your coupler here right into that. It's going to be an imaginary hole. Right into that imaginary hole would be there. You'll apply some force and it'll pop in right there. So that's how you couple that to your perpendicular lines. Now here you can see that I've actually put on a couple of these clamp style lines, which you can get if you want. You can get these clamp style lines. I did these because they're going to run the same way. I've got some potatoes in here that I just put in, and they're going to run the same way as the big poly line, so I thought it'd be a little less of a bend. And then the other thing I wanted to show you is that at the end of these lines, when you run your 1/4 inch line down your row, at the end of them you can just bend them over and put a cable tie on there. Whoops, yeah, there. Bend them over, put a cable tie on there, and I stick them into the ground because I had some white cable ties on here, and they're they kind of corrode with the UV and fall apart, so I wanted to protect them. But yeah, you just bend them over. And you do the same thing with this big poly line. All you have to do is bend it over just like you're stopping the flow on a garden hose. Looks like I got some weeding to do back here. And there is actually a special connector. You can buy these for like $1.70 for 6, and you slide this on the pipe and put it. But anyway, that's how you pinch off a pipe at the end of it so that it doesn't leak. Now you might be wondering what happens if you change something. Okay, here's one of the end clamps. Here's the part number for that. There's one of the end clamps for the poly pipe for pinching it off if you don't want to bend it, just bend it over and use a cable tie, which is fine to do as well. And then there's these goof plugs or hole plugs. They call them different things, but anyway, you can use these. So if you do run a 1/4 inch line somewhere and you decide to move your row or end watering in that row because you're done with the crop, you can just go ahead and pull the 1/4 inch line out and put one of those hole plugs in, and you're good to go. No leaks. Okay, I wanted to show you one other thing about this line. So what you can do here is, the reason I have a Y on this, and then you'll notice I've got the hose valve, and then I've got a Y, and I've got a separate pressure regulator on this side, and then a separate coupler for my main line going off into the garden that way. And then I've got another one here, same setup, pressure. The reason I'm doing that is because my house water is about 100 psi, and coming into from the main line. And so I've got plenty of pressure, but you can only, off of one of these 25 psi regulators, you can only run, they say something like 50 some feet, but I've had pretty good luck running 100 feet of either soaker line or flag drippers. And I'll show you a flag dripper right here. Here's a flag dripper. Anywhere you want to do the poly line, you just pop a hole in the poly line again, just like I just showed you, and then you pop in one of these flag drippers. Those flag drippers come in different, usually 2 gallons per hour or 4 gallons per hour is the size. So you can see I got a little sunflower plant here and a little onion trying to go there. So anyway, and the reason I did this, the reason I put a splitter in here and ran it off both sides is so I would have 25 psi going that way and 25 psi going that way. So now I can run more, I can tag more 1/4 inch or poly lines with drippers off of them in each direction. Okay, another thing I don't think I showed you was how do you run a poly line with a dripper? Yeah, with flag drippers. Okay, so here's how you do that. Here's my main line coming up right here. It's got, and then what I did was on the main line, I just put in this T right here. And there's the part number on the T. And those are all slip fittings. So I took my main line, cut it right there. And then I took another 5/8 poly line and I ran it down the row and I put it in with these staples here, which you can get on Amazon for, there's the best. These work the best for all your 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch lines is these staples right here. You can get them on Amazon for about 10 bucks a bag, and they're for like 1,000. Anyway, down the poly line, and then I've got a flag dripper for each one of these plants. So that's how I did that. And then that, of course, goes all the way to the end of the row, where again, I folded over the line and either cable tied it or wire tied it, or you can put one of those special little end terminators that I showed you. Okay, and so the other thing that I'm not sure I showed you is when I was splicing in the rows for the flag drippers and the poly pipes, here's the T. Oops, put that on the ground so you can see it better. There's the T connector for the poly pipe to poly pipe, and then there's an example of your flag drippers. These are your 2 gallon per hour flag drippers, and I think the I got most of this stuff at Lowe's, and Lowe's also had in stock the 4 gallon per hour flag drippers, so twice as much, and they, I believe, have yellow flags on them, while these have green flags. Okay, and here are the staples that I was talking about that I got from Amazon. 11 gauge heavy duty, and they're from Katonga Go, and 200 pieces. So I guess I got 200 pieces for about $10. So I lied to you about the 1,000 pieces, but that did allow me to do my whole drip system, upper and lower garden, which was quite a few lines. You may be also wondering how to get when you're going to splice your poly line into one of your compression couplers here like this, whether it's on this T or one single by itself, so you can get more pressure depending on what you're doing there. You try to cut off the end of the poly pipe as evenly as possible. Then you press on it so that it's nice and round, and then see if I can stick this somewhere where you can see it. And then when you go to push this in to this, I'm not going to do it because it pretty much wastes one when you do it, but what I do is I push real hard and I wiggle either the hose or this compression fitting around while I press, and that will slide in a 1/2 inch or so. It won't go, they don't go that far, but once they're in on all sides around about a 1/2 inch, you're good to go. And then I think this is the last thing. You may have noticed that I have 2 sets of main lines running up and down these rows here. One comes from seemingly another place, and that is true. I actually have an upper garden area and a lower garden area, and the lower garden area they're on different timers for the sprinkler system with these standpipes. So my idea was I ran 2 main lines the length of the garden, and that way I can take, how some plants need more water at certain times of the year and less at others. Well, what I've done with most of my rows is I've run 2 lines, one from each zone in the sprinkler system, in the automatic sprinkler system. And so that way, if I want to run more, I can, because I don't want to affect the other plants. I have one zone is all running a certain amount of time all the time, and then the other zone, if a certain plants need more water, I can turn that zone on or off, or I have that extra line run on the plants that need that extra water, and I can turn that zone. I can use that zone as kind of my regulator zone to crank up the water or turn down the water. Like, for example, how tomatoes, how they need more water at the beginning, but then you want to give them less water when they start producing, or in order to get them to produce and ripen. So that's why I have the 2 zones there, or the 2 different main lines. Maybe some food for thought if you're lucky enough to have a system like that, where you've got automatic watering and you've got 2 zones that you can drop into your garden. Okay, well, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully I didn't miss anything, and that should give you some pretty good clues as to how to put together a drip irrigation system. Oh, the one thing I did forget, I'll add this in, is if you want to, I'll go over there and show. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but there is this line that is 1/2 inch also, but it's brown line, and it's a drip line. It's got little holes in it everywhere, and they call it Pro Drip system or something like that. And they do make couplers. If you wanted to run that for several rows or one row of your plants, you would just take a coupler just like this I did with this 5/8 poly. Only you would get the kind that goes 5/8, 5/8, and then you would get the kind that, I think it's 0.6 is the size of that Pro stuff. And you'll find these couplers at Lowe's also, or Home Depot, or Amazon. And those couplers will allow you to run that brown poly line, which I don't have any to show you, but you can, again, stick that in just like I showed you, cut it flush, and then work it in there, stick it into your coupler. And you don't need flag drippers or anything. It's just a heavier duty drip system, and I don't know much more about it than that. I haven't experimented with that, but that's a different way to go. Anyway, I hope you learned something out of this and got what you needed, and happy gardening. Also, I'll try to put the links to part numbers and stores with these different parts that I showed you at the bottom of the show notes. All right, happy gardening. Thank you.